the number one thing that Anthony Joshua needs in his career moving forward is to be the underdog. That's right, he needs to be the underdog. For me, if I were to map out a career path for Anthony Joshua from this point on, I would say forget about the Usyk rematch, drop down a level, maybe fight a Kuzman, Martin Bakole, somebody like that. Perhaps even a Charles Martin rematch. Yeah, at least in his first fight back. And pick a trainer who understands biomechanics, who's going to be able to get him to become more loose, more fluid, change the way he thinks about boxing. Somebody who can teach him the old school veteran moves, who can change his mentality a little bit. And one of the most important things in this process will be to take Anthony Joshua out of the limelight. Now, again, all of this is counter to the economics of the situation, to the commercial interests in this situation, which are probably not going to allow the scenario I'm talking about to happen. Just as Chris Andre pointed out when I spoke to him in the live last night, there are just too many people who are eating off Anthony Joshua at this point. And Anthony Joshua himself wants to get back in. He's already said and fight Usyk straight away in an immediate rematch, that they are going to trigger that rematch clause. Okay, cool. But for me, that's not the best way to fulfill his potential as a fighter. I think what happened to him here against Usyk is going to keep happening. He needs to address the fundamental issues which haven't been addressed his whole career. Yeah? And when I say he's been rushed, he has been rushed. It amazes me when people say he hasn't been rushed. Of course he's been rushed. Even Eddie Hearn has admitted on many occasions, yes, Anthony Joshua has been rushed. And by rushed, I mean he hasn't learned the type of technique that you would hope a guy with his achievements would have by now. Still that weird upright roboticness, little bit amateurish looking in the way he moves sometimes. This is all of the classic signs of somebody that's been rushed. Yeah? If he'd taken his time on the way up, perhaps he wouldn't be in the position he's in, wouldn't have made as much money, wouldn't have become the superstar, and so on. But if you want a more stable career rather than this up and down stuff, you got to learn the technique right the first time. You see, one of the reasons why Tyson Fury, one of the reasons, not the only reason, one of the reasons that Tyson Fury is a bit more stable than AJ at elite level is because Tyson Fury had more of a learning process before he got up to elite level. And obviously he hasn't fought as many top fighters as Anthony Joshua has fought, but nonetheless, when he's been in there with Wilder, when he's been in there with Vladimir Klitschko, certainly the rematch of Wilder and the Klitschko fight were plain sailing for Tyson Fury. Yeah? And that's because of the experiences he had prior to even stepping up to world level. AJ really only had one real fight before stepping up to world level, and that was with Dillian Whyte. Tyson Fury had multiple real fights before he got to world level. You see? Had different trainers as well. I know they were all in-house family trainers. Well, actually, Rob McCracken, I think, was in Tyson Fury's corner very early on. But he trained with his dad, his uncle Peter, and now, of course, well, he was with Ben Davison and then Javon Sugar Hill, right? So he's learned, he's picked up different things from different trainers. Anthony Joshua needs the same thing. All this loyalty stuff, it sounds cute and it appeals to people who are very emotionally invested. But if you're just being logical, if you're just being rational, it's not the right thing to do to stick with the same trainer when you're not improving in certain areas. Yeah, if you think Anthony Joshua's a complete fighter and totally rounded, and no, there are certain areas that have not improved the way they should have improved over the years. In AJ's style, needs to get a new trainer. And from a psychological point of view, not just from in terms of AJ's psychology, but the psychology of his potential opponents and the psychology of the fans. If AJ goes away, out of the limelight, maybe fights in America for a while, going to America and being in that environment where people don't really rate AJ. They didn't rate him even before this happened to him against Usyk, and even more so now. So maybe going to the States and being over there and, you know, cutting your teeth in those tough gyms. Maybe hooking up with Mayweather again. Yeah, him and Mayweather are cool. Hook up with Mayweather again. Get him to show you the ropes out there in Vegas. Get out of your construct up there at Team GB, training with all the amateurs. Nah, man, go over to Vegas, you know, do different things. I feel like he's just stuck in a rut at the moment. But anyway, if he could fight here and there, some learning fights, I want to say no more than 4 fights, learning fights, right? With a new trainer before he steps up again and tries to fight elite fighters. If he does that, a lot of people are going to write AJ off. They're going to say, see, he's stepping down. He didn't take the Usyk rematch. He's scared. A lot of his fans would leave him. So many people in the heavyweight division would say he's no good. That is exactly what he needs. It's exactly what he needs. Because then there's no pressure. Then AJ can come in and fight somebody who's on the top of their game. Maybe a Tyson Fury. It's going to be an easy one for Fury. AJ's been fighting B-level opposition. You know, he hasn't had an elite level win for years. This is going to be easy. Fury. And then all of a sudden, AJ upsets somebody. You see how it works from a psychological point of view. AJ's constantly being... One of the things that Usyk said after the fight is he expected AJ to be tougher. You see it? Because the expectations going up against the unified heavyweight champion are high. Big guy, you know, 31 years of age, couple years younger than you, former Olympic gold medalist and all this kind of business, 2-time world heavyweight champion, you expect a lot. Usyk got in there and said, you know what, it was easier than I thought. Whereas if AJ goes away, out of the limelight, fights here and there, you know, 3-4 fights with a new trainer, working on different things, then he steps up, maybe gets a world title shot or a final eliminator and he's the underdog. Imagine that, he's the underdog. Oh yeah, AJ was something back in the days, but now he's done now. This should be an easy fight for whoever it is. Hergovich, right? Let's say it was him. Let's say it was Tyson Fury. Maybe even Dior. It's going to be an easy fight for them. AJ's chinny. All of a sudden comes out. He's got all this new technique. He's learned some skills. He's a bit more slick now, a bit more savvy, a bit more like a veteran. And all of us, wow, AJ's back. He's truly back this time. You understand? Not the back with McCracken back, where he's running around the ring from a guy that's nearly 300 pounds and he's been training on pizzas. And what's the Desperado? Is it Desperados? It is Desperados, isn't it? The beer. Yeah. Anyway, not that kind of he's back, but proper back with a new technique, with a new trainer, with a new outlook, with a new mindset. That's what Anthony Joshua needs, in my view. Yeah. Being the underdog and being written off by everybody. And people say, oh, he was written off against Ruiz. No, he was only written off by people that don't know nothing about boxing. Because Ruiz was never as good as people were trying to make him out to be. He was good, don't get it twisted, very dangerous, but always limited. I've said all along, you're not going to try and say that I'm talking nonsense at this point, because all my old videos are up. Yeah, going into the Ruiz rematch. I said, this guy doesn't move his head. He doesn't have good head movement at all, Ruiz. He's very easy to hit. He's got slow feet. And if you move around him, AJ has got the ability to outbox this guy. It's just whether he can hold it together mentally and, you know, the stamina. But in terms of the tactics and the technique, he's got enough. It's sufficient to beat a guy like Ruiz if he can just box and move. Definitely. But the guys like Usyk, the technique is on the next level, bro. The ability's on the next level. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments below. I'm out. Come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide range of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&A sessions, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalogue of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got a Discord server where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. There's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.